Hello, Michel. On the 9th of February, Switzerland voted to bring back strict quotas for immigration from European countries. Brussels reacted very harshly, to say the least. Switzerland is already feeling some of the consequences. Why do you think that the European Union is being so tough with Switzerland?
Well, basically there is clearly a political reason for this reaction of the EU against Switzerland, but more fundamentally, the Swiss decision and the decision taken by the Swiss population is going against one of the three liberties, which is the liberty to trade, the liberty to move for capitals, and the liberty to move for people.
So are you saying that Switzerland is attacking the basic philosophy on which the European Union was constructed?
Well, the EU has been built upon this liberal idea, which is to say, in order to reach the optimum of the allocation for resources, for prices, we need liberties for trade, for people, and for capital. That is true.
Do you think the European Union is right at being so angry with Switzerland that the Swiss vote will slow down the economic growth?
From an economic point of view, the argument is correct, that is for sure. But we have to remember that number one, Switzerland is not a member of the EU, and number two, the EU has taken exactly the same exception last year.
Where?
In Cyprus. Remember, when we had this failure of banks in Cyprus, the EU decided to block all transfer of money. So there were no more free movement of capital, and Cyprus is a member of the EU.
We have a feeling that since the crisis hit that there's been a lot of questioning on free movement. Switzerland is really not the only one to question it.
No, this is a reaction we're seeing everywhere in the world. And more interestingly, it's a reaction from authorities today. Take the example of the central banks. Take the example of the US central bank, the UK central bank. What do? They're controlling the price of the bond yields. Take the example of the Swiss National Bank. The Swiss National Bank is controlling the price of the Swiss franc. There is no more freedom in fixing the price of the Swiss franc. Take the example of the emerging countries. They're facing difficulties. They're seeing their own currencies moving up and down. What's the answer? Their reaction? They control the capital movement. Take the example of the European Union again. They're going to issue a tax on financial transactions. That all the elements show that the world is moving towards more controlling.
So in other words, Switzerland, what happened in Switzerland is not an isolated incident.
Not at all, and that is worrying for the future, because the lesson here is clear. When a state, when a country is facing economic difficulties, the answer is to do what? Let's control the quantity, the price. Let's avoid the liberty of movement for goods, people, or capital. And that has two names. Either it's an administrated economy or it is protectionism.
So at a time when we're seeing economic growth in the world, it's a bit maddening.
It is, because we see that there is no correlation, no positive correlation between protectionism and economic growth and world economic growth. So we know, and people have to be citizens, and authorities have to be very vigilant, because we're walking on a red line. On one side we're going to protect the citizens, but on the other side we risk to kill the world economic growth, which is in the interest of everybody. But it is hard to fight this idea, because these protectionist ideas are rather vicious. They're moving slowly and gradually, and it's very difficult to fight them and say, let's stop now this idea. So yes, protectionism is a major challenge for the world in the next few years, yes.
Thank you, Michel.
Thank you.